My next guest fights out of Team Alpha Male, and on January 19th, he faces against Arnold Jimenez at Uriah Faber's A1 Combat 17. He is El Matador, Hector Fajardo. How's it going today, Hector?
Good, man. Pleasure to be here. I'm excited for this fight. I'm excited to talk about it.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm always interested in how a fighter becomes a fighter or gets introduced to the sport. Doing a little bit of research, yours might be the most interesting intro I've seen. So, like, how did you go from being an on-air DJ at KSJS to a 6-3 pro fighter now?
Oh, that's hilarious. That's funny that you dug that up. Because I don't think anybody knows that I used to be a college DJ at San Jose State for a little bit. But actually, fighting was not in the car. It was not in the plans at all. I never thought that I would be getting in this profession, especially like going to a four-year university like San Jose State. Initially, I played football in high school. I never wanted to fight, and then my football career was over going into school. So I needed another outlet, and I decided to get into martial arts. So I stumbled upon a PE judo class purely for recreation. My first college professor, he did public speaking. Shout out David Williams. I took his public speaking course, and at the end of the course, he mentioned that he's like, "Oh, I also teach the recreational judo class. If anybody wants to take my class, like feel free to jump in next semester." And then he called me and he was like, "Hector, you wouldn't last 1 week in my class." And I was like, "Whoa, hold on a second." And we had been talking smack like all semester long, so I was like, "I'm gonna join this class." I joined judo, beginning intro to judo, and that kind of kick-started a very long journey of like, I went down the rabbit hole. I got hooked on judo and somehow stumbled into the varsity, the Olympic Training Center for judo, which happened to be at San Jose State. Made my way on the team, worked my butt off, and somehow ended up in the 4 years that I was there, ended up being nationally ranked in the country, two-time collegiate medalist. Just to kind of make everything a little bit short on that career, and then cap that off when I got done with school. I was just like, man, I need another outlet. Like I couldn't make judo anymore. I couldn't do judo anymore due to time constraints, and I went as far as I was going to go with judo. Like judo was not my first love, but the opportunity was good, so I ran with it. So that kind of went towards its end, and lo and behold, I actually saw. I saw a high school, someone I went to high school with, who actually ended up being my teammate, Nico Jackson. Rest in peace. He passed about 2 years ago. But yeah, I saw him fighting in a cage at a random amateur show back when you could just apply for AMI fights. And I was like, oh shoot, like you can fight in amateurs and like not be in the UFC, like. So it's like you could go out and fight and not be good enough to be on a pay-per-view. Like that sounds like fun. So I signed up. That was kind of the thing that I jumped into after judo, and I was like, if I'm gonna jump into something, it might as well be this. And it's like, if I suck, then I'll stop. And it's like if everything crashes and it turns out not to be a good thing, I'll just stop. But I think the biggest thing was like I had all my friends were always like, man, I wouldn't jump in a cage, and I was like, I would. And so it was that one determining factor of like, you guys wouldn't do it, but I would be crazy enough to do it. And then lo and behold, I joined the local gym, which happened to be with Eugene Jackson because I was from the Bay Area. So I joined Eugene Jackson's team. We trained in a basement. We trained at Kung Lee's gym. We cross-trained all over the Bay Area and just went on that massive amateur journey of 12, 13 fights. Yeah, 12 fights, I believe. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, when I saw that, I was like, I have to ask that because I didn't think anyone ever brought that up because I'm probably one of the few that are obsessed with Hot Ones and like his level of detail trying to find that one question that no one else has asked. But coming to today now too, like, has Uriah ever talked to you about that? Like using you as the example for what his MMA program is going to be?
Oh no, so that's he hasn't actually. It's funny because so So he's I don't know if you guys have heard about the Sacramento State program, the Combat U that he's actually going to kickstart. There should be breaking news. There should be a press conference coming out soon on this for this A1 card, because as you guys know, I'm fighting on the A1 card for Sacramento State. It's going to be on campus. So he went into it briefly on Ariel Helwani talking about the program that I've been tagged with helping assist run it or direct it. So it's funny, Uriah kind of offered it to me not knowing my background, because he brought up the job requirements and he basically was like, man, do you think you can handle this? I was like this basically screams me. Like, my story is exactly what this program is going to focus. It's developing college students into the route of MMA, which I fell into it, and through the universe, it just led me to that direction. But it's cool because it's like I'll be able to guide students and create an environment where it's more mainstream and people can just not fall through the cracks. And there's so many pitfalls that I could have hit in this sport that could have took me out of the sport or just lost my taste for it, but somehow I ended up here. So it's like I want to bring that for your average college student.
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't even have that question written down with your story. That just screamed Combat U to me. It makes sense that you are taxed for that. And you kind of touched on it. Uriah came to you. Because for the past about 5 years or so, you've been at Team Alpha Male. You've been surrounded by him and among everyone else on the legendary roster out there. Especially most recently, your training partner, Josh Emmett, with what I thought was knockout of the year, scariest knockout I've seen in probably the 20-plus years of MMA I've watched, because of the after results, basically. Can you explain how it was being one of his sparring partners leading into that fight and other fights as well?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So I've trained with Josh for quite a few years. I've helped him with quite a few camps, but I would say the two camps that I specifically was tagged with helping him the most was the Shane Burgos camp. Due to COVID, I was literally so Team Alpha Male at the time had only allowed the fighters to pick one training partner for their fights, because people still had to fight even when the gyms were shut down. So that was kind of my way of staying active, was I'll be a training partner. So Josh was nice enough to include me in that camp. So that's kind of how I got in there for that camp. Even though I don't fight anything like Shane Burgos. And Shane Burgos is cool. He actually came to Team Alpha Male after that fight. So shout out Shane Burgos. He's a cool dude. But yeah, no, I've helped him out with plenty of camps. But this one in particular was a little difficult because originally we were, as everybody knows, we were supposed to fight Giga Chikadze. So I was assisting with that, with the sessions and with everything. Not everybody likes to train with Josh for said reasons. The guy, he's the nicest guy on the planet. Honestly, one of the nicest people I've ever met. But his athleticism, as it was displayed in the Bryce Mitchell fight, sometimes it's kind of hard to deal with. So people are kind of whenever there's hey, you want to give Josh rounds? A lot of people are just oh no, I pass. Where I'm for me, I'm yeah, I'll do it. I've always been one to raise my hand. I love to help my teammates out. So usually when someone needs help or some kind of look or whatnot, I'm usually the first one to be yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I'm down. Because in turn, those high level looks, they pay off for me too. I grow a lot from these camps as well. And every Josh Emmett camp that I've helped, I've grown exponentially because I've had to work with him. We went through the grind for weeks, and it was so great to see us put down 8 to 10 weeks of hard work for it to come out to a minute of he didn't even break a sweat in that fight. So it's dope to see where it's nobody's gonna understand how hard or how good we prepped for that fight. Except for the people that were involved. And for me, it was it's great to be involved with that, because I also felt that I grew a lot. And I'm excited to show it in my fight. Just being a product of my environment in the gym. But it was interesting because we were getting ready for Giga for 8-9 weeks, and then literally a week out, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna switch to Bryce Mitchell." So it's like they prepped for they prepped for a lot of for Josh used a lot of wrestling, but then it's like because Giga doesn't wrestle, but then all of a sudden we went from a guy who doesn't wrestle to a guy who exclusively wrestles, so that it was like the whole game plan switch. But in the end, it didn't matter because, as we all know, Josh only needs that one shot, and that's exactly how it is in training. Like Josh only needs one shot, but he's cool with he's been cool with not destroying his training partners. But yeah, that like getting ready for Josh, like doing a camp with Josh, especially with this fight, like so Arnold pulled out. We were supposed to fight. Arnold pulled out back in November. And it was like, oh, crap. Like, I got ready for all that. What am I going to do in the meantime? Oh, I'll jump into this camp with Josh Emmett, which is like the greatest thing for me personally that I could have done in prepping for this fight. So it's like, I don't know. I'm blessed.
That leads perfectly to my next question, though. You know, with Arnold Jimenez, like, you were scheduled just 2-3 months ago. I was curious who pulled out. I figured it wasn't you because you were helping Josh. Makes sense that Arnold was out with that one. Leading into this one, then, you know, you have 2 extra months of preparation. Does that help you, or is it kind of like now you're kind of overtraining for one person in particular?
It's good. It's funny that you bring that up, because so I've been known to be one to overdo it a lot. Like I'm a workhorse. I train year round. I train like that's just how I function. I'm in year-long camps like constantly. But it's by choice. Like that's just how I like to roll. So there are some situations where my coaches sometimes will be like, "Dude, you're overdoing it," and there's true. You got to listen to your coaches. So things that I've learned in the last year or two is kind of taking a step back. Sometimes it's quality over quantity, especially when I've been maintaining the same pace or the same load for the whole year. Like sometimes it's okay to kind of take a step back and try to like peak properly. I think peaking is one of the things that I've been working on. So with Arnold, the first fight for November, so I'd peaked perfectly. I physically, my body was on point. My weight cut was tracking perfectly. Like everything was to the T as good as it could get. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little pissed because I really wanted to get 3 fights in that year. I was on a roll. I took myself out of a hole, and I thought that this was going to be the perfect way to cap it and put myself back on the radar, was to get a fight with Arnold, who's a great opponent. So and this was right before the holidays too. So I'm like, oh, this is awesome. November 18th is right before Thanksgiving. We're going to be good to go. And then it didn't. So for me, I just decided to be like, I had a discussion with my coaches because we actually kind of try to see if we could push it earlier on that December 23rd card, but ended up not happening, which was fine. So we settled for the January card at Sac State. And the thing with the coaches were like, all right, so if we're going to take that, you got to take a little bit of time off, like enjoy the holidays, and get ready to peak. Like re-peak a little bit. Everybody, all my teammates would said the same thing, and it's a high level gym. Everybody, Darnell, Gaines, everybody was just like, hey, you should probably, like, you train your ass off. Should probably take a step back, let your body recover, and then get ready to go and, like put a strong 8 weeks or a strong 6 weeks. Honestly, like I've learned that 6 weeks is usually like a good strong point. Like I could fight anybody on any notice, but like a good 6 weeks, that's a good sweet spot because I don't want to overdo it. Like you're correct. Like I will overdo it. So yeah, I stuck to like 1-a-days after Arnold pulled out, and then chilled a little bit, and then got on refocused on my strength conditioning program, and then now we're peaking again. So that's the focus, is making sure I don't overdo it. I even did it too after because I was on par with Josh. Like I was in Josh's camp. So when Josh fought, like I was step for step with him on that. So I actually took a step back to refuel, and I still had like, X amount of weeks to get it going. And now it's like, we're on point. We're perfect. We're ready to go. Everything's dialed in exactly how I want it.
And then, a win here does make you 4-1 in the promotion. Normally we'd be talking title fight. Downside, your teammate is the champion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so, like, what
exactly.
happens there?
Well, the thing is, like I fought like I lost to the guy who, I lost to Peyton Talbot, the guy for the inaugural belt, and went on a good run. And even my last fight was Dorado. Dorado was the original contender before I took the fight on 2 weeks. So it literally it makes sense for me to be the one to like slot in. But as you said, my teammate has the belt, which is great. Hey, I'm happy for Dwight. I think it was a perfect move for him. I thought the opportunity was perfect. I thought I could have got slotted in for it, but I didn't think I was ready for it. I really wanted to dig myself out of this skid and break 3 before I started thinking about any of that stuff. But for me right now, I'm just focused on Jimenez. I beat Jimenez, and then I worry about things after that, the things I can control. I'm much more. I think I'm more focused, bigger picture. I'll be honest. I don't know if Dwight's even going to be around before he gets the call. He could get the call and go up to the promotion. Go up to a bigger promotion. He could get another shot at the UFC, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he goes PFL. I'm not sure, but I don't think Dwight's going to be there long enough for it to matter before he gets shot. 'Cause he's been on a run himself. So I'll just stay ready. Fingers crossed. I win this fight. I do what I need to do. I put myself back on the radar. And then I'm just focused on making paychecks. I need to start, getting my money's worth. I felt that on the region. I know it's like fighting for money isn't the biggest thing for me, or has been in the past. But it's like I put together good performances. I want to be able to get paid for those performances that I put out there. So that's really my focus. So whether it's the title, it doesn't rate that high on my list. I think time is money right now. So for me, the focus is beat Arnold, who's a good opponent, put myself back on the radar and get to a big promotion, whichever it may be, and let my management handle that.
It's usually my next question is, is it UFC or bust? But I mean, I guess right now we don't know what PFL is doing in your division. They have possibly one of the best bantamweights in the world, who's now just sitting on the sidelines until they figure out what to do.
Yeah, so originally it kind of was a thing where it was like, oh, UFC or bust, UFC or bust. But I'm a realist. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't look 35, but I am 35 years old. And that's one thing where I hope with these promotions, they look at the picture and not the number, because I sure as hell don't look my age. But for me, it used yeah, of course, it's everybody's dream is to make or at least get a shot. At least get a shot, even if it's contender series, a short notice shot, or whatever. I think that's the biggest thing, is trying to get that shot. But I'm also not against. I've never been against like fighting for Bellator, or which now got swallowed up by PFL. For me, I think now as yeah, that's the pipe dream, but I think now it's like money talks. I think now we're kind of moving into the money situation. My wife is in the UFC, which is awesome. So I kind of need to start, picking it up on my end, because I am a competitive man. So it's like, all right, I need to start working on my fight checks too. And we're married, and we got a mortgage now, so it's like I really want to start picking it up in that department. I think that's more of the focus.
I had a question for her later on, but I'll hop into it now as well, just because you brought her up. For those who don't know, Corey McKenna is your lovely wife.
Yes.
Is she gonna be on commentary for this one?
So it's funny. She never commentates on my fights. So she'll step out when I fight, and she can't do it, which is fine. It's one of the things when you're a showman, especially the way I fight. I tend to get into some risky fights sometimes, because that's just kind of my fight style, and I like to put on a show. It's not always the most fun thing when your significant other is a commentator and has to stay professional, and unbiased. So she wants to stay as unbiased as possible. She will be on the commentating team as usual, but when I fight, she'll take a step back. But yeah, she never, as long as she'll never commentate my fight, but she will post-fight interview. So added incentive.
I mean, you figure. I mean, Uriah hops on commentary too, and he tries his damnedest to not be one-sided when you guys are on there. He does a pretty
it's a
good job.
lose-lose. It's a lose-lose because if he says something right, then like if he says something like that's swayed towards alpha male, everybody thinks he's biased. But he has told me sometimes, and I've picked it up in commentary, and I never take it personal. Like sometimes he doesn't want to come off as biased, so he'll kind of swing the other way, which I understand. So he doesn't come off as biased. But it's like it's a lose-lose, and I completely understand because everybody just assumes, oh, this is an alpha male. This is an alpha male promotion. This favors it. It really doesn't. But yeah, I know. Sometimes I've caught that. I just don't. I don't pay attention to it too much. And Corey doesn't want. My wife doesn't want to be biased either, so she just removes herself completely.
That makes sense too, because I mean, if you look at even at the UFC level, Megan O'Leary used to do kind of the same thing with Joey B fights.
Yeah.
Try to watch it from the back, not even out front, so no one can say she was overreacting. Nothing. She kind of took herself away from any scrutiny at all.
Yeah.
But leading into the fight, though, like obviously your teammates all over the place. Who's going to be with you in the corner for this one then?
It's the usual combination of Hector Sandoval. Hector Sandoval I think he's only been in one. I think I've only not had him in the corner one time professionally. He'll be in the corner. Joey Rodriguez will be in the corner, and Danny Castillo will be in the corner. So I'll have those three. That's my perfect balance. It's those three guys.
And then also I had one more about Corey as well.
Yeah.
In the UFC, I think there's only been one husband and wife on the same card. That was JP Buys and
Cheyenne.
Yeah, and
JP
lost. Cheyenne won.
Yeah.
That one. Corey kind of ruined that train last time out.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there a goal, like, if you could write it, is there a goal to be like the first husband and wife to be on a card and win? Or is it kind of like if that happens, it happens?
Yeah, I'm more on the if it happens, it happens. I think right now my biggest thing is getting where I need to be. The only thing I care about right now is I got to get there first. So that's something that would be dope for when I get to the show. Then I'll worry about that. But until then, right now my focus is making sure I get there first, because none of that matters if I don't get there. So I got to get there. I got to show out. I got to get a contract, and then I'll go from there. From there, then I'll worry about everything else. I got to get there, win a fight, stay there, and then I'll worry about all the extra stuff. And then obviously, I also, I assist with coaching my wife, so making sure that she's got to, perform on her end too. So I try to help out with that as well.
Awesome. And then, with this fight too, anyone who's seen you fight in Combati or in A1 knows, like, you don't quit. You're always advancing. You're always putting it, and you even said sometimes you get in risky spots that you probably shouldn't be in, but it's the fight game. Shit happens.
Yeah.
How do you see this fight going if you could put it together in your head? How do you see it going?
Honestly, it's a dogfight. If there's one thing I know about Arnold is Arnold's down to throw down. He'll scrap a little bit until he decides to wrestle or take it to the ground. And for me, I'm comfortable in every position at anywhere. So I'm not worried about where this fight's going to go. But I do know he could push a pace. But the thing is, I can also push a pace too. I think that's the biggest key. It's like we're both volume guys and we're both speed guys, which makes for a good fight. We're both also very durable. He's had a lot of decision fights. I've had a few decision fights. I think it's just stylistically it measures up for a fight of the night style. And you got two Mexicans in there ready to throw down, and that's a recipe for a show. I feel like his back's against the wall too with making moves, and my back's against the wall, and we're ranked right next to each other on Tapology, and we've already been matched up twice. Like, this is kind of the fight. This is the fight to make, and I think it's just gonna, one of the reasons that I wouldn't say I chased this fight, but one of the reasons that I wanted to stick with this fight or this matchup was because of that. Because I'm in the entertainment business, so I want to be able to go and throw down with a worthy adversary who has something to gain, and I feel Arnold is that person. As long as I don't get into another Ty Costa, then I'm good to go.
Awesome.
As long as I don't have one of those, I'm cool. I want to have some fun in there. I want to throw down. I want to scrap, and I want to catch the attention of these the matchmakers. We're on Fight Pass for a reason. I want to catch those eyeballs, and I want to make sure that that everybody's excited to watch me fight, and remind everybody that I'm still here at 135. Like, I'm still a prospect. I'm still here.
And that's the best thing about Fight Pass. Occasionally Mick or Sean are in attendance. A lot more rarely Dana's in attendance. That seems to not be happening anytime he's too busy, like fasting and ice bathing.
Yeah.
But that's always a great thing there. I mean, they obviously go back and they watch the replays. They see what people are talking about on the social media pages and all that too. That's a great spot to be fighting on. But let's step back away from the fight game as a whole. I know you're training all the time, but there's times where you're not training. I know this past year you had the wedding. That was one time away. But I'm sure other times as well, too. What are you doing when you're not training or away from the gym for a day or two?
I mean, I'm not kidding. I train 7 days a year. 7 days a year, 7 days a week. I'm not joking. In some matter of facet, I'm training. But when I am not, and I'll tell you, my wife is just as bad as I am, which is kind of a match made in heaven, because she's as much of a workhorse as I am, if not more, actually. But in the past, I would I don't know, I'd relax at my parents' house back when I had free time, or I work at a UFC gym, so my head's always in the game. But as of late, I've actually gotten into home improvement. My wife and I got a duplex back in November, October, and we've honestly been hammering hours into that place. She's been putting way more hours than I have, but honestly, that's where my free time has gone, is into working on the house. If I'm not doing something, I'm learning to do something, and it's like that's just something that we've been tackling. It's been difficult because it's funny because I went to school to avoid doing stuff like this, but now here I am spending my free time. So I guess the universe has a way of like correcting things. But yeah, really just like home improvement and things like that. Like even when my wife and I like took off, like we did a traincation. Like we like to go and like train places and stuff, even when we head out. But it's very much what we do. But I would say, yeah, home improvement, home renovations and things like that. I think that's probably the route that she's going to go when she retires, is she's going to really go into like fixing up houses and stuff. And I don't have that passion, but I will be assisting.
It's always, there's always something that can be done in a house.
Yes.
We're on our second house, and I think we've been in here about 18 months, and our list just keeps growing. Like, the more you do, the longer the list gets. It makes no sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's kind of one of those things where it's like there is always something to do, where like I'll even ask her like, hey, what do you need me to do? And she's like, well, I need this and I need this. And she's a busybody. Like, she's always working. So I'm like, all right, well, I can help with this. But it's like I'm slightly more limited, obviously, because I have a job. And now my job is going to be like, my next job now is going to be a little bit more time consuming now that I'm going back into, a full-time position. But yeah, no, there's always something to do. There's always there's never nothing to do. So it's like, I try to help where I can.
Awesome. So this is the part where I kind of hand the mic to you. You have all your sponsors, your teammates, your friends, family, wife, and so on. This is the kind of the time for you to kind of give your shout outs, promote yourself a little bit more too. Give people, a reason why they should tune in on January 19th. Sell yourself, sell your sponsors. The mic's all yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out, obviously, to my wife. She has her fight March 16th at the Apex. It should have already been announced a while ago, but yeah, her fight's locked in. I'm gonna let her announce that. She should announce that because it's her matchup. But yeah, shout out to my wife. Shout out Team Alpha Male. That's my home. That's my team. And shout out Iridium Sports Agency. They're the guys that handle everything that I don't need to handle. So I'm in gratitude. I've been with them for so many years now, and I'm glad that we're going in a direction that we need to be going. And this year I think is going to be big. And that segues into, why you should tune in. It's I put some of the most exciting fights at 135, bar none. My resume's stock full of guys that are really good. I don't have any any fillers, any cream puffs on my resume. All the guys are tough, and I always bring it. I always come up and fight to my level, and I always give everybody their money's worth. That's a fact. One of the most exciting 35ers in the country, and I'm just ready to make another statement. I think this time some of the changes that I've made with my coaches, it's only going to make things a lot worse for my next opponent. Obviously, I've had more time to grow, and I've had more time to work, and I'm ready to put on a show. And this is, more directed towards reminding everybody and the matchmakers that I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm gonna show everybody what I'm gonna bring to the table. And like I said, I'm gonna make this a big year for me and get where I need to be. And then, of course, shout out to all my sponsors, Outdog and Underdog Studios. They're the guys who always cut my hair. Veganism always hooks it up with Top Notch Sea Moss. Me Vale Madre. They're my favorite clothing line by far. They're local too. And everybody else that helped support me. Chiba Hut. My friend started a franchise sandwich shop. They're out in Fresno. They're pretty dope. And then my buddy Jose with Punch Drunk Media. He takes a lot of pictures and videos and stuff. He's the man. He's helped me out a lot. But in short, I'm excited to fight. I'm going to keep my hopes centered because Arnold didn't make it to the fight last time. So I'm just hoping he makes it to the fight. I just want to get there, have a great fight, and put on a show and show everybody, especially A1, why I should be the main event. Like, talent like me should be the main event because I put the butts in the seats and I give everybody their money's worth. But that's it in short.
Also, so January 19th, A1 Combat, Sacramento State University. UFC Fight Pass if you're not anywhere near Sacramento State. You versus Arnold Jimenez if he makes it. Let's not put that juju out there.
Got to get there first. It was fight week when he pulled out, and I was literally getting ready to start. Like, it was Monday of fight week, and I was like, shit. And I even asked for a replacement. I was like, dude, give me a replacement. Like, whatever, find somebody. And Tom Anderson was like, that's not going to happen with this short notice. Like, I can't find anybody to take this fight on a week. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I figured. And then we just rebooked it. So I just have my fingers crossed. You know what? If Arnold shows up, ready to go. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I got to say. He's left me at the dance before, so we'll see.
Also, January 19th, we will have a fight January 19th. Let's just say that.
Yes.
UFC Fight Back. Awesome. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.